Greetings, BlazeLeeDragon here, and apparently it seems I was missed. So, I've decided to do a new video. And today's video is going to be unique. It's going to be something that I usually don't ever do. And I'm going to include a little bit of my own opinion and personal path. I usually don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is because there's not a universally right path for everyone. To me and in my personal beliefs, you need to find what's right for you. Okay? No matter what that is. Protestant, Catholic, Jehovah's Witness, Jewish, Hinduism, Druid, Shinto, Wicca, whatever, Taoism, Buddhism, Shen Buddhism versus Zen Buddhism. If it feels right to you, follow it, Everyone needs to find what's right for them. That's my personal view. So, in this video, there are going to be some things that I'm going to say that are very uncharacteristic of me. I try my best to present to you information in a very biased way. Obviously, I've got my own opinions. Obviously, I know what works for me, but you're not me. You shouldn't try to be me. You shouldn't even try to emulate me. I'm just trying to give you some information so that you can make your own decisions, which is how it should be. And I also try to be very respectful of other people's paths. So, this video here could be perceived as offensive. Some of you might be watching it, already getting in your mind by the title alone, that you're going to be offended by this video. Hear me out. Hear what I have to say. Judge it on your own. You want to post a response, whether it be in comments, send me a message, make a video response, more power to you. You're allowed to express yourself. That's the whole point of YouTube. A lot of people have come to me recently and they're wanting to know my opinion and my insights and what about this, what about that. A lot of people are, lost. They don't know what path to follow. So what I want to do is express to you what I've been expressing in my other videos as far as finding what works for you. Mixing and mashing. Taking from a great variety of vastness out there of all these different paths. You can learn from anything. It's like one of the things I said a long time ago, which I got a kick out of. That's right, I'm dorky enough to quote myself. That, a wise man can learn from a child. Only a fool needs an ancient text. And that's true. We can learn from everywhere. We can learn from nature, from animals, from the very essence of what man is. Sit out there, watch someone in the city. Just sit at a coffee shop. Check people out. Don't be real creepy and obvious about it. But still, observe. You can learn lessons in life by the way life is. That is the original teacher for all of these shamanistic paths, all of these magical paths, these nature-based paths, religion period, morals, ethics, laws, structure. It was all learned by observing and learning how the universe works and our place in it. So, let's get on to the title, okay? Talking about Wicca, obviously. And that's what most of this video is going to be dedicated to. Abandon Wicca. What does that mean? Am I saying Wicca is horrible and it's bad and you shouldn't follow it? Absolutely not. So for those of you who are expecting me to say that, sorry, but I'm not going to completely let you down. Let me finish. For those of you who practice Wicca and already gritting your teeth and cracking your knuckles, it's not what you think. Hear me out once again. Although I might be going along some lines that you're not going to want to hear. So, I'm going to give my opinion, I'm going to give my insight, and I'm going to give you from what I've learned, from what I've researched, from what I've practiced, from conversations I've had with other people. Okay? So here it is. Take it how you want it. Wicca. Why do I say abandon Wicca? Wicca is not what people think. Okay? The reason I say that is a lot of people are turning to Wicca, or what they think is Wicca. They do this because they don't know what to call themselves. And I have videos of what to call yourself. It doesn't matter. Just be yourself. That's the point of this video too. You don't have to turn to Wicca because everybody's heard of it. If you don't know what a Wiccan is, and you don't know what Wicca is, you don't have to. You can still learn from those books that you love so much, from those coffee shops, from friends, through conversations, forums, internets, websites. You can take elements of something and still incorporate it without becoming that or converting to that, okay? I'm not going to tell you what I practice because it's not relevant. I've studied many different paths. I've been doing it for over 17 years now. I have studied, I've researched, I've talked to other people, I've had formal training, informal training, instinctual, spiritual, all this type of stuff. And I am still ran out of memory. And I will still, to this day, say I don't know anything. And that's exactly the mindset you need. The mindset of a child that is going to continue to be open and continue to absorb lessons, wisdom. Nobody knows everything. And as soon as you think that you know everything, that's when you're no longer going to learn and you're going to stop knowing everything. Things are constantly changing. So going back to Wicca, what is Wicca? Where did the name Wicca come from? I'm actually probably going to include, like I said, some video links at the bottom so you can check out some stuff, do your own research. Wicca is something that was created and invented by Gerald Gardner. Once again, do some research on him. He got it from this group that called themselves the Wicca, W-I-C-A, which is an Anglo-Saxon word for their wise men. Wicca, W-I-C-E, was the female version of their wise people. So it was just like saying village elder, wise person. You know, whatever the case may be. You've heard of the craft of the wise. That's where it comes from. Anglo-Saxon is just one method. There's people of the Anglo-Saxon, I mean, they didn't translate it straight over into Gerald Gardner's Wicca. They each had their own tradition. Each village, each family, they had their own path and method. And only in the Anglo-Saxon regions were they called the Wicca. There was other ones. A lot of them, Celtic societies, Germanic societies, Norse people, they called themselves Druid. That was also one of the terms that was used. It depends on the region. It depends on the path, the tribe, the society. And that's the point. Back then, you just were. You didn't have to have a specific title. You didn't have to be called a shaman or a witch doctor or, you know, a Wiccan. Or, you know, you didn't have to have a specific name. You just were based upon what your region was. Ran out of memory. Might skip like that again because I'm going to go on for a while. It was very much like the Druids or the shamans or just the wise people of their villages, period. So the reason I say Wicca is not ancient and it's not witchcraft, which you'll see in some of my videos, is because that was the Anglo-Saxons' wise people. First and foremost, their wise people, the one they called the Wicca, are not the same thing as the Wiccans today. The reason is because Gardner took all of the folk stuff. He took some of his research on the Wicca, etc. Like I said, do research on Gardner. And he took all of this and made his own amalgamation of what worked for him. Then he introduced it to you. The old wise people of the Anglo-Saxons did not have the same doctrines, teachings, and specifics. Each village was different. Each family was different. Actually, I'll try to include this thing on Raymond Buckland. It's kind of neat what he was saying, but he even talks about them. And he's talking about how the tribal people back in the shamanistic times would do rituals to do this sympathetic magic and kind of in tune with vibrations. I think positive, I get positive. I act out positive. Positive things happen. So it's trying to mimic and put these energies out there to bring about this change, which is kind of essentially what magic is. Watch my other videos. I'll talk about it in more detail later. The point I'm trying to make is, back then, there wasn't set in stone. It was a growing, changing. There's a reason why people like the Druids passed wisdom by word of mouth from teacher to student. It was a living, growing, changing art. It was a very generic and general term. You just were, okay? Also, with that though, when you became a druid, a shaman, a witch, or even in today's society, a Wiccan, it was trained, it was taught. That student assimilated the teacher's teachings into their own path. It was a growing, living thing, which is exactly how it should be. Do not be the bitch of somebody else's path. Find what works for you. And I mean that sincerely and truthfully with all the depthness of my soul and heart. One of the great teachers, Talma, or Talmo, Depends on how you want to pronounce it. Long story short, he was one of the Buddha. He was an enlightened one from India who brought over Buddhism to the Shaolin Temple. One of the things he said is, don't listen to me. I could be the world's biggest liar. Discover it for yourself. He had thousands of disciples that tried to learn his message. They tried to emulate him. One person got it right. Or so the story goes. He was talking about this flower, and he held up the flower to describe this is what Tao is. This is what the way, the path is. And this one person finally got it. And they were very jealous of him. They got very mad because they've been studying his stuff. Find your own path. A lot of people are just like, oh, I have to be Wiccan so that I can have a religion and do magic. There are plenty of religions out there that it's okay to do magic with. Actually, even Christianity does magic. Prayer is a form of magic. They're directing their energies through thought, praying to their deity, their God. They do this usually in front of an altar with a staff and robes. If you've ever been to a Catholic ceremony, etc., it's, in essence, it's magic. Magic is just a label. It's just a term. You know? Going back to Wicca, talking about the Anglo-Saxon word, for their wise people, you lose meaning when you change languages. It happens. Look at the Bible. It's been translated to so many different versions. Everyone's got their own opinion on it. Do you think that there was witchcraft in the original Bible? No. That region of the world didn't have witchcraft. They had something else. The original Bible was warning against people who foretold the future, because back then there's a lot of con artists that would take all your money to tell you a false future. Just because you're using an ancient word or ancient teachings doesn't make the path more predominant. You want to know how old my path is? Well, technically, it's only about 17 years old because that's when I started walking my path. But I like to say that my path is the 1 second path. It changes constantly. Every moment I'm alive, every second, I'm reevaluating how I view the world and accepting new things that work and feel right to me. I encourage you to do the same. You can take stuff from multitude of faiths. Everyone has their religious wise men and teachers. You want to learn magic? Then learn magic. Don't get preconceived notions of what it is. It's a natural energy force that works with the natural flow of life. You can't do things against the natural flow. You're not going to magically make something appear out of nowhere, but you can draw vibrations and energies towards yourself. Everything that you are, emotions and thoughts, these are all vibrations, and they can be influenced through magic. Another video though. Right now we're talking about Wicca and why the average person doesn't have to see Wicca and go towards it. If you are learning Wicca or want to learn Wicca, more power to you. It's a fine path. Learn it though. Don't just pick up a book and run around, I'm Wiccan! Go and learn what it is. Great group to talk to, the BTW, British Traditional Wicca. You know, they have a lot of their teachings still alive. Become initiated. A lot of you don't want to dance naked, don't feel comfortable being naked, you don't want to worship the horn god or the triple goddess. Those are things with Wicca. Wicca's not pick and choose. Wicca's not, oh, I'm going to take Isis as my goddess. Guess what? Isis is part of the Egyptian culture. Okay? Wicca is from Anglo-Saxon influence, as well as all the other ones that Gardner pulled into it. It's not pick and choose. It's a set path. If you want to pick and choose, go for it. But don't think you have to be Wiccan to do that, or to do that type of magic or spellcraft, or to include stuff. Now, a lot of people, there's all these arguments, like I said, about witchcraft, Wicca, and what's the difference. And I've even made a video that has quite a few thousand views. Thank you for watching. But they're not the same thing. It was influenced. You will see elements of witchcraft in Wicca. Wicca will talk about the 5 ritual tools and the 5 elements and a set way of using stuff. Whereas with witchcraft, all you need is yourself, your direction and your intent. And yes, some of these ritual tools have been used in witchcraft. And a lot of the spellcraft that is used by most Wiccans, not all, is related to witchcraft. Doesn't make it the same thing. It's kind of like if I learn the art of the Shaolin, and I incorporate these different teachings and methods with other things that I've learned and create the Shen Wu. Briefly, Shen, spiritual energy, Wu, magical person, wizard type of a deal in China. So Shen Wu, spirit wizard basically. And I take some of the teachings from Shaolin. Doesn't make it Shaolin. And it doesn't make either Shaolin Shenwu. Shenwu is its own thing, even if it's based off of ancient teachings and doctrines. Same thing with Wicca. Just because it was based off of older stuff doesn't make it old, doesn't make it any less potent, doesn't make it any less real. And actually, that is my biggest point and the whole purpose behind this title, Abandon Wicca. If you are not formally trained in Wicca, you don't need to be a Wiccan. You don't have to be. You can still be you. You can still read books, talk to other individuals, go to seminars, classes, whatever the case may be, mix and match and make it your own. You don't have to have a set path or a name to be yourself. Embrace what feels right to you. Find and seek. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't care if you're talking about witchcraft, druidry, Hinduism, Taoism. I don't care what path it is. I don't care how old it is or how new it is. It's all bullshit. All of it. The only thing that is not bullshit is what you find is real in here. If you can connect with God, with Goddess, the universe, the, universal essence of all things, if you can find yourself, it doesn't matter what you practice or believe. It doesn't matter what that priest, that priestess, that monk, that teacher, that scholar, that sage, doesn't matter what they tell you. If you can't find it for yourself, it doesn't mean shit. And, with that being said, with all these great and wonderful resources, why limit yourself? Pick and choose. Be you. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself because the book says so, or the book says this, or the book says that. If you're uncomfortable with being naked, or the ritual tools, or how they, the altar setup, and that's another thing I want to talk about too. Wicca. You find a Wiccan teacher out there, an actual authentic Wiccan teacher who is trained and taught Wicca, and they start teaching you. Doesn't feel right. You don't click with them. That doesn't mean Wicca's not right for you. That means that teacher's not right for you. Find another Wiccan teacher. If the same thing consistently happens, maybe it's not right for you. Same thing goes with any path. You can talk to one Catholic priest, not make any sense. You can talk to another Catholic priest, basically the same teachings, but have a different insight and different way of presenting it. You have to find what works for you and what's in harmony. That's the whole point of spirituality, whatever it is. Now, for those of you out there, but I don't know what to do, and I don't mean that mockingly with that face. I just get very expressive when I do my voices and stuff. But I don't know what to do. I don't know how to learn magic or where to go. There's an answer for you. Everywhere. Look into psychic skills. Look into Shinto. Look into Hinduism with the puja. Look into Taoism, Buddhism. Look into Catholicism. Look into Kabbalah. Look into witchcraft. Look into shamanism. There is so much out there about how to direct your energy and become one with it. Yes, depending on where you are, it might be hard. Turn to books. Turn to internet resources. Ask myself. Ask others out there. Ask people on my channel. Ask people who've responded to my videos. There's plenty of resources for you. Witchfox.com, which I've mentioned in another video before. I'll try to put the link down there. Meet people. Talk to people. If it doesn't feel right, move on. You don't have to take other people's word for it. Having it written down in a book doesn't make it right. Someone claiming it's thousands of years old and passed down from teacher to teacher to teacher doesn't make it right. And even if it was passed down like that, it doesn't make it right. You have to find what harmonizes with your soul, what calls to you. A lot of the great teachers out there and a lot of the great traditions, let me give you an example of ones that actually use books. Hinduism, Taoism, Tao Te Ching. Let's look at these books. They are left for interpretation. The student is encouraged to listen to the words and find their own meaning in them. That is beautiful in my eyes. And like I said, this entire video has been about my opinion. I just hear Wicca, 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 Wicca. I'm tired of hearing Wicca. Let me tell you, I am not a Wiccan. I am not a witch. I have studied both. I have learned about both. There are things to learn from all the paths that I've mentioned, and I have studied most of them to some degree or another, in one form or another. For those of you who are obsessed with books, those books is just one person's word. You might as well take my word for it. You might as well take a random person on YouTube's word for it. Pick someone on the street, take their word for it. Just because they have a book, credentials, years of study does not make them right, does not mean you should have to turn to them. Let me give you a little secret hint here. Where do you think all of these religions, faiths, and spiritual practices came from? They came from people like you, seekers who decided to take it upon themselves to truly look at the universe and find out a way to interact with it. Why can't you? Why do you need to turn to these other paths? If you find one that fits you and it works and it's just right, do it. Follow that path. Learn that path from someone, but make it your own. If none of them call out to you, don't turn to a path. Pick and choose your teachings. Go to seminars, talk to other people, make up your own path. Because let me tell you something about religion and faith. Every single one of them, from Catholicism to Wicca to Hinduism to all of them, just period. The shamanistic practices of the shamanistic tribes, they are all created, invented, and made up by man. They are man's interpretation of the world and the universe around them. And the entire point is to reach the divine. I think of it like a mountain. We are all trying to get to the top of that mountain so that we can understand the world that we live in. The tip of that mountain is the divine. The divine is the universe, the sky, beyond. But the thing is, as we walk up that mountain, we take different paths. And the closer we get to the top, we lose the individual path and start to harmonize with those who also seek their own individual path. And the closer you get, the more you realize that they're similar. And once you get to the tip of that mountain, you know you will never touch the divine, you will never touch the sky, and as you look down over the world around you, you see it through new eyes. That is the essence of religion. That is the essence of spirituality and magic. That is what you should seek it for. If you're seeking magic or Wicca or any of the other religions simply for an escape or to rebel, that's not a good reason, in my opinion. If you're looking for magic because your life is terrible, magic's not going to correct things. Magic works with the flow of nature. You're not going to go outside and snap your fingers and make the wind blow. But if you focus and concentrate, it will blow. Ask yourself why. Why? Why do you want to do with what you're doing with magic? What are you taking away from others? The secret to magic is working with the flow of the earth and the elements. It's being in harmony with things. That's what makes it so important. Think about it this way. What's harder, to throw a ball straight up into the air or to throw it straight down at the earth? Let the pull of the natural forces go with you. Don't go against them. It's not going to be the same. Let me give you a more extreme example. Get up in an airplane a few thousand feet in the air. Do you think the ball is going to travel further if you throw it straight up on that airplane or if you throw it straight down? That's a more extreme example, but that 10,000 feet that it'll travel, it's not going to travel 10,000 feet you throwing it up. Same thing with magic. You try to go against the forces of nature, you might not even notice it. You go with the forces of nature, that's when miracles occur. Ha! Can't talk. Great. So, this is my opinion. Abandon Wicca. My purpose behind that is to say that there are plenty of paths out there, learn them. Don't go with preconceived notions. Don't take anyone's word for it, not even mine. Find yourself, find your path, find what's right, and keep seeking. It is not hopeless. You can find what it is you seek. I am BlazeLeeDragon. This is my opinion. It is not etched in stone. Hopefully you've learned something.